And we're back once again. This is the Blue Corner. My name is Dennis. If you are returning, I will always say thank you, thank you, thank you. If this is the first time you're tuning in, please hit that subscribe, hit the like, and maybe even leave us a comment. I don't know. But look, man, it's been a good and a bad week, I guess. It is the week that we have had an announcement over here that basically we are back to having live crowds at full capacity, which is always fun. I say bad because we've had a legend pass on, and that is DMX. I know it's not MMA related, but I like to make a mention of that because I do feel like he has had some sort of pull in the MMA scene. I always say there isn't a single fight card that I've been to where not at least one fighter has walked out to one of his songs. So, I have to say rest in paradise, and yeah, he's another one gone too soon. But let's get on to this week. I've brought on one of our local fighters who, I have a lot of respect for, and we've been speaking for a while, and it was a tough one. His last fight, he actually faced one of our past guests, and so I was a little bit caught in the middle. But he had a good outing, he's now got a pro record of 2-2. He comes out of Central Coast MMA, which is headed by Ross Pearson. I'm talking about none other than Blake Sheppeard himself. How have you been, and how has the start of the year been treating you?
Yeah, g'day, Dan. Thanks for having me on for starters, mate. Been going good. It was good to finally get back in the cage, I guess. I had a 2-year layout, but I've obviously with COVID and then before COVID, I had a lot of fights cancelled on me, but I've started a new camp with Central Coast MMA, obviously, as you just said, with Ross Pearson and the boys up there, and it's been sensational for me, so I finally sort of feel like I found my home and my feet somewhere, and obviously got back in the cage and didn't go my way, but happy to already got another fight announced, ready to go, so just keep trying to get the ball rolling again.
And when you say you found yourself a new home, where were you residing, I guess, before?
Oh, originally I started, because I'm from Lithgow, so I started down at Thrive MMA with Paul Trace, and then ended up going to Newcastle. I was training with Rich Fogarty at Steel City Boxing there, but didn't really have the whole game set up, if you say, like the wrestling, jiu-jitsu and all that sort of set up. So it was only more my strike, and then I was bouncing around between 3 or 4 gyms just to try to get the work in. So going down with Ross and that, they've got the whole foundation's there for everything, and they've got a bunch of young killers there. They're just pushing everyone more and more every day. Then you've got your likes of Jamie Malarkey, obviously, who just got his first UFC win, and obviously just Ross himself. Just having them around you, it just gives you your confidence, and it's going to be good.
And how is it? I mean, let's talk about Jamie for a second. How hard was this training camp for him? Because I know, look, I've been hot on Jamie Malarkey for a long time. Obviously, he dropped his first two. I mean, his first one was incredible because it was against Brad Riddell, and it was a fight of the night performance. But exactly. It is always tough when you drop your first 2 fights. And I just want to ask, do you feel like there was a little bit of concern in the back of his mind, potentially if he didn't pick up a win, that he would see the back end of his UFC career? Was there any talks about that? Like how much pressure do you feel like he felt in this last fight?
I think he knew where he was at and what was at stake, but as he even come out and said that when his back's against the walls, when he really rises and performs, and that's what he come out and done. So yeah, I think he definitely had a real good camp. He was doing a lot of it with Alex, obviously down at Wollongong there, and was coming back every couple of weeks to be with us as well. So I think he knew what was at stake, and he come out and proved he belongs there and that he'll stay there for a fair while.
And with the Wollongong thing, is that something that's going to happen more often? Because I saw that Josh obviously trains down there a lot too. It seems like, Arlene has gone down there. Like a lot of people are obviously going down to Wollongong. Is it a one-way ticket, or do you find that some of their guys are popping up to you, or how does that all work?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm obviously still fairly green with being at Central Coast MMA myself, so I'm not too sure on the whole setup on how that works. But I think at that level, they're all willing to help each other, and wherever they got to go to do that, they're going to do it, especially if it's going to benefit both camps and whatnot as well. So.
Nice. And Ross Pearson?
Oh, mate, it's surreal. It's like I've obviously been a fan of him for a very long time, so just even be able just talk to him, let alone be able to train and roll and spar and just be around his presence in general and just hear his stories and whatnot. It's been surreal.
And I mean, he's got a wealth of knowledge, but how does that translate like into his coaching techniques? Because, you know, we had this debate the other day about ex-MMA fighters converting across to judges. And I always say, look, just because you're a great fighter doesn't necessarily convert across to a judge, a coach in this instance or whatever like that. But I know what the answer to this is, but like how has his, I guess, conversion to coaching kind of like come like what are your kind of thoughts?
Oh, mate, he's unreal. He's unreal. He makes everything about the fighters, and he just lives and breathes fighting. So you know you're going to get 110% out of him, and as long as you can give that back to him, you're only going to reap the rewards eventually out of it. And what he's done already there with Central Coast MMA is real good, and it's only going to keep building. So you know his mind's like just his fight knowledge and fight IQ. Obviously, it was at the elite for so many years and still is. So it's only going to roll off on all the other fighters around him as well.
And do you think we'll ever see him compete again?
Oh, that's probably a question for him. We'll have to wait and see, I think. I think he'd love to, but...
I mean, when I had Jamie on, he said he wouldn't say no. Jamie was like, yeah, I think we'll see him again. But like, obviously that was last year. So I just wonder now, obviously with the delays and everything, if you know, he has now kind of settled into just the coaching role, or do you still see the hunger in him?
Oh, no, he's still got hunger. He's definitely, I think he's someone that fighting's his life. So there's always going to be that hunger there. Just, I think, as with a lot of people, the COVID sort of put a fair dent in everyone's plans and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not too sure exactly where he's at with it, but time will tell.
And speaking of COVID, as you mentioned, like you know, had a bit of a little bit of a delay. I mean, what, 2 years or so? Like how tough was that on you, I guess, more so mentally, I guess, than physically? Because I assume you still trained throughout those 2 years, but like when you're kind of sitting on the sidelines, you kind of been benched, I guess, in a sense. How tough is that to deal with?
Yeah, well, so pretty well for the last sort of 4 years pre-COVID, it was up and down sort of roller coaster. I started in 2014, and then after that, I couldn't get I had 4 surgeries, so I'd sort of spent a fair bit of 3 to 4 years I was out with them, and then I got back fighting again. I had 2 fights in back to back, and then I had 7 cancelled in a row on me, 6 of which were out of my control, which was hard doing 6 camps or 7 camps back to back, and I'd get 1 or 2 weeks out and it'd fall through. So, and then obviously COVID hit, which then added an extra 12 plus months, which everyone had to deal with as well, obviously. But yeah, just I think the outside, obviously the training and the not getting a fight was hard, but with so just for my personal situation, where I was working, the coal mine I was at, it's shut, so I went travelling with a mate just doing concrete and building. So I spent 4 months not even in the gym at all before starting at Central Coast, and started there the week before Christmas, I think it was, and went straight into a fight camp to take on Dave. So I went from there 4 months on the side, or 4 months just travelling, not even in the gym at all, to trying to do a 6-week fight camp straight back into a fight. So it was challenging, but it was probably the best way to get back into it.
So when you say travelling and concreting, are they 2 separate things right now, or you were doing both at the same time?
No, not travelling as in like, he's the mate I was working, because the pit I was at shut, so the mate I was working with, all his work was away, so I was up in Queensland doing concrete and building. I was down in Victoria, just out west a lot, just on the road all the time, just travelling, like all his work was away, so it was all travelling.
And was it hard to get like the permits at the time? Because, you know, for people that don't know, obviously we had our state borders shut for most of that time too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we had to get work and permits, especially when we went up to Queensland. We had to get the government approval to go over there and work and follow all their regulations and rules that they had in and whatnot. So, but yeah, for actual work, it wasn't too bad. They were pretty quick to approve everything when they want something done.
And so then you joined Central Coast MMA. You know, is it any different to your old gym? Like, are you noticing a difference, I guess, in your performance and also in the training itself?
Yeah, well, I've never been in a gym. So I did do 4 months with Adrian Peng and Integrated MMA up there in Queensland back in 2017, I think it was. But otherwise, I've never had a MMA structured gym where they've got your wrestling coach, your jiu-jitsu coach, you got your striking with Ross doing all the striking, and just the bodies to roll with and to spar with every day. I've never done or had that situation or set up around me. So it's been this. I just felt at home straight away as soon as I went into Central Coast. I knew a couple of the boys sort of before I started there, just through social medias and whatnot. But and then obviously Ross and Jamie just from being a supporter and a fan. But yeah, it's just that everything they got there, and they make everyone feel welcome, and everyone's putting in the work. It's good.
So you know how old Jamie is now?
Yeah, 26, I think.
No, I say that because obviously he started at a very young age. But like you bring up the wrestling as well. I mean, that's an important one. I always say that's kind of like the biggest foundation to MMA. And I just feel like in Australia, we really lack that side of, I guess, MMA. You know, there isn't a real big wrestling culture as you would see in the US or anything like that. But you guys have also teamed up now with the Wrestling Foundation, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that is definitely something that's always been lacking, and personally for myself, I know it well and truly has. But yeah, Gary comes up a couple of times a week for us with the Wrestling Foundation, and he's unreal. Everything he's got set in place, trying to build everyone, and it's definitely tough and it's hard, but it's something that everyone needs to do, and he does a great job. So we're very fortunate that Ross and Gary have got together and sorted that out for us.
Yeah, as I say, to me, it's a big one. I love the fact that he's teaming up with like multiple gyms now because, as I said, for a long time, it's the one thing, as I keep saying, it's the one thing that we've really lacked in this country. And it's to me, it's the most important one, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we've been starved of it for a long time, I think. But in saying that, the whole game, it's evolved so much just in the last, I suppose you could say the last 5 to 10 years, but every year it's evolving more and more, and everyone's getting more advanced. So we've got to keep up to speed, especially once the boys start to go over the international scene, and that you can't afford to have any holes around like on the local scene now, let alone once you go international. So it's good.
And what do you think of the local scene, like compared to say 5 years ago?
Oh mate, it's definitely gone leaps and bounds. Like you can't just be strong and tough and fit anymore. It doesn't get you the victories, unfortunately. So everyone's well rounded, and you see some of the things these young kids are doing now. They're on another level. So you got to keep up to speed and keep working.
Did it worry you after having that layoff? Because the game is moving so quickly now.
No, not really. I was always itching to get back in there. I've never been worried about where it's going or whatever. It's just getting back in there and getting to work and having that right surroundings around you in the outside the gym or outside the cage, I guess, just having everything, that foundation everywhere. So just putting all that together, and if you want to do it bad enough, you're going to make it work.
And what was your original reasoning for getting into MMA?
Oh, mate, I've been a massive fan since I was young, but obviously growing up in Lithgow, there wasn't much around. You're sort of starved of not opportunities, but just starved of options and gyms and what not to do. So it was more just a coal mine, football in town. So, but as soon as there was a gym opened up, I jumped straight in and started training, and then I wasn't sure if I was going to fight or not, and found myself in a bit of trouble on the wrong side of the law. And I was actually sitting on the train on the way home from court one day, and just sent a message to the bloke I've been training with. I said, "Oh no, I'm not probably ready, but can you get me in and get me a fight just to sort of get me leveled out and give me something to focus on?" And it sort of just all went from there.
Can I ask you how serious your wrong side of the law was?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about everything, mate. I was just drink drivings were the ones I was getting charged for, but had a few strung together at once, so I was looking like going for a little holiday just for that. And then yeah, so I just needed something to focus. I was still just that young kid that was out drinking and fighting on the streets and just doing a lot of the young dumb shit that we all do, but got caught a few times doing a few of the wrong things and was there going the wrong direction. So I've sort of struggled with a few things like anyone does. But yes, MMA has definitely been the thing that's leveled me.
And I have to ask, has it like put any roadblocks into your career? And I say that because I know that especially here in New South Wales, the CSA is sometimes really difficult to kind of deal with. Have they ever tried to put a roadblock in because you've had problems with the law? Because I know, and that's why I asked you like how serious it was, because I know I've specifically met certain fighters that can't get, I guess, license purely because they have got a history.
Yeah, nah, not with the CSA or anything like that. I was when I was in Queensland with Integrated. The reason I had to come home was because court, I had to come back to Lithgow and live in Lithgow to finish off the penalties that I was given through the court with that. But in terms of actual fighting, that's never restricted me.
Crazy. So you come back after 2 years. You take a fight on Urban Fight Night. And I have to give them a quick shout out as well, because for people that have done the Urban Fight Night, it used to be run out of a basketball stadium out at Liverpool. And that show in particular, which was Urban Fight Night 24, Luna Park, under the big top. It looked like a real kind of professional show right now. It really was. But what was your kind of thoughts leading into that? And I only asked that because obviously, you got Dave Francis, and he's not an easy picking. And especially I guess after such a layoff. So was it a case of, was there any thought process behind that, or was it like you were itching, I guess, and you were ready to fight anyone regardless?
Yeah, mate, I needed a fight. So I was actually, I am contracted to Eternal, and I got a 5-fight contract with them, and I was meant to fight in Perth 2 weeks prior to the Urban Fight Night, and the little COVID outbreak we had they cancelled that for me. So Ben and Cam were happy to give me one fight release to fight on Urban. And but yeah, there was never any question on. As soon as they offered Dave, that just got me more excited and more keen. It was a bigger mountain to try climb, and I fell short. But it was just the opportunity to share the cage with someone like him, who I've been watching him since before I even started. Like, he was pro when I started, so he's it was. And the way Urban was run, mate, it was a very professional show. They done exceptional. If they can keep that sort of standard up, it's a big promising sign for MMA in Australia. Eternal's already up there, but if they can do that, especially in Sydney, because there's no one in New South Wales that are running good quality shows at that level, as such, and getting the publicity out there and whatnot for everyone. So it was good.
And I always say it's easy to come on one of these kind of things when you do get the dub, right? And I have to respect you, because a lot of people, obviously, when they pick up an L, it's a lot harder. Like, it just really is. But I also respect the fact that you're willing to come on after an L, right? And I'm guessing even the way you handled that afterwards, like you were like, look, there's a lot that I can take from that fight. So talk to us about the experience inside the cage, how you felt, I guess, and some of the lessons I guess you took away from that.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. So that's the first fight. I've got another loss on me record, but I took it on 7 days or 8 days notice. And I hadn't been training for 2 years before having that one either. So this was the first one that I felt like a loss. It was the first one I put sort of everything in at the gym and the mats and still come out and lost. So it was a big thing to take in, and sort of hit me a little bit at first to sort of try and swallow the pill. But also it just made me hungrier and keener. So I don't think I get ring rust as such, as what some people would call it. It's just getting that work in, and you just, if you really want it bad enough, then you're gonna get there eventually. But just probably a little bit too big of a mountain to try to climb after that time out. But I'm never going to shy away from an opportunity, especially someone like Dave. So.
But I kind of feel like you had your moments on that fight too. Like, I kind of feel like it was winnable.
Oh, 100% it was winnable, mate. Like, I just made a silly sort of mistake at the end there, really, at the end of the first round. We knew where my weaknesses were and where his strengths were, and what I had to try and avoid getting stuck into what places and what positions. And like, hats off to Dave, he fought a smart fight, and he was obviously the better man on the night. But it was definitely winnable for me if I could have put everything together. But yeah, we'll see. Try to get it back one day.
And how is it? I mean, the first experience, I guess, going back to Ross now, of his coaching techniques. I mean, obviously, I was in the same locker room as you guys, and I seen the warm up. But the one that really, I guess, gravitated towards me was when he sat both of you guys down after the fact, right? And I guess it was a little bit of tough love. But how do you take moments like that?
Yeah, no, you just gotta wear it and move on with it, really. And you got to, if you can't take criticism or advice off someone, then you definitely shouldn't be doing this sport. So anything that Ross has got to say, I'm going to take on board, and I know he's got the experience there. So it's all a part of the process, and trying to bounce back, especially when everyone's putting all the work in for you. You got to try get the rewards back for them.
But was it tough?
So it was not tough to swallow.
Like, yeah, a tough pill to swallow. I mean, as I said, because I mean, as I said, it was tough love, man. Like, I mean, but I respect him for it. Like, he put it directly back on your guy's shoulders, and it was, you know, as I say, like there was no kind of like sugarcoating.
Yeah, nah, mate, that's how it is. But we're not in a sugarcoating sport, so if you can't cop it. Like I know myself, like I'm my own worst critic. I'm the hardest on me. So even every fight I've won, I've been angry because I haven't done it the way I wanted to do it, or still done things wrong. So yeah, nah, there's nothing's I'm gonna cop off anyone else that's gonna sort of deter me or be hard to swallow, because I know it's only the truth anyway. And in the same time, I'm probably being harder on myself than what everyone else is too. So that's fine.
No, and I always say this. It's about the mentality of it, right?
Yeah.
I really respect that, because I find you get two fighters, one that own their losses and they really take it and they own it, and then other ones that kind of try to shy away from it and claim that they didn't lose and this and that, and it's everyone else's fault bar their own, you know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's where I guess I'm kind of coming from. It's the fact that, as I said, like he directly put it on you guys, right? He was like, you guys are the ones in there.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, I'm going to show up on Monday. I'm going to be there to coach you. But once that cage locked, it's all on you. It's got nothing to do with us. So he really put that onus, as I say, on your shoulders. Like it, you know, I was sort of sitting, I was that fly on the wall, and I was like, I was getting goosebumps the way he was talking to you. And that, as I said, that was the first experience I had of Ross coaching, right?
Yep.
Like I was just like, damn, like, and especially after a loss when most people are quite down on themselves, I was like, at least wait until Wednesday, right? Wait till they get back to the gym. But he was like, nah, he sat you guys down right there and then, and it was like, bang. And I was like, whoa. And as I say, for a moment, it was kind of like, whoa, kick them while they're down kind of thing, you know? But like, I also understood where he was coming from, and I really respected that.
Yeah, no, it's a fight game, mate. And he's there. Everyone's put in the work to get us to where we were, and we were in the position and the condition to come away with the victories, and we fell short. So that's just unfortunately how it is, and whatever comes with it, comes with it.
Beautiful. So you say you've been a fan for a long time of the mixed martial arts scene. So growing up, who was, you know, the fighter that you kind of looked up to?
Oh, my first memories, mate, was like Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell, Rich Franklin, all that sort of time when they won the Ultimate Fighter series and that. But like even all my hunting, I've got all my hunting dogs and that. I've always named them after UFC fighters. So I've always Chuck and Tito, even though they were arch rivals, they were two of my favourites from back in the day. And
what do you think of their trilogy fight?
Oh, I was happy Tito got a victory back up, but it shouldn't have happened probably.
That's when you chasing the dollars, right?
Exactly.
Chasing the dollars. That was terrible. I don't even know why they sanctioned that fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it probably shouldn't have happened, but I guess they still got their payday.
And on that, is there like any sort of fights that stick out to you? Like, is there like some real memorable kind of fights that are just like in the back of your mind that made you fall in love with the sport?
A few. I've got a pretty ordinary memory, to be honest, but the Diego Sanchez and Clay Guida is one that I'll always remember that. It was an absolute cracker. But other than that, I'll watch some replays, or I'll watch an old show and it'll flick me memory and I'll remember. But yeah, no, otherwise not really. Sort of a massive fan, but my memory ain't the flashiest with remembering them all.
Fair play. And obviously it was funny because when I contacted you last week about coming on, we spoke about you coming on before, but when we were kind of like getting the finer details ready, you know, you questioned whether, you know, there's anything you needed to know, and I said that make sure you're on weight, and I actually said that thinking like you had nothing coming up, and then on the weekend, obviously I see posts coming out left, right, and center. You've actually now got another fight on Eternal 59. When did that fight get made?
Well, pretty much. I think I don't know. It was the day after I lost to Dave, or it was within that week of the last fight. I messaged Cam and just said, as long as we're still good to go off the contract, I'm ready whenever you are, if you've had anything in April or May. And I think they were meant to be in Adelaide maybe in April, but the COVID restrictions and that might have canned that for them. So they asked if I'd be ready for May 7th, and said yes straight away, obviously. And we just had to wait for an opponent, and we got offered Joey Lachine. Oh, God. going to stuff his name up.
See, that's always my worst fear about having someone on and not knowing how to pronounce their name. So that's good. I'm not even going to try, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, well, Joey Luciano, I think it could be. Sorry if I said that wrong, mate. But he fought on Hex on the weekend on Friday night, so we had to wait to see if he got come through all good. But I think he got, I haven't seen it, but he got the first round submission victory, so he's good to go. And obviously Eternal announced that Saturday night, I think it was. So we got a bit under 4 weeks to get ready for that one now.
Well, if you pronounce his name wrong, I'm sure he'll have something to say it way in. So we watch this space. But how much do you know about this guy?
I haven't watched much, to be honest, yet myself. I was waiting to see how the weekend went because I wasn't going to get too set on it until I knew it was happening. But I think he won gold in one of the world championships as an amateur in I don't know if it's the IMMAF or whichever one it was, and then he won bronze in the other. He's had a very big amateur career. I think it was 20-something amateur fights, and now he's 2-1 as a professional. So all his fights have been overseas until the weekend. That was his first fight in Australia. He's with Absolute MMA now, so I'll let Ross do all the research and all that, and I'll just turn up the train and do what I'm told to do, basically. But should be, I think he's very well rounded. He's got victories on the feet and on the ground, so we'll see how we go. It'll be good.
Yeah, nice. And when you say you're 4 weeks out, like, so are you saying this is going to be a short camp, or have you known about this for a while now?
Oh, no, so I knew I was going to be fighting, and I had a couple I fractured my foot in 2 spots against Dave, kicking him, and so I probably only missed a week and a half training, but then the last few weeks I've had to just alter what I can and can't do in the gym. Just obviously the wrestling and the kicking I couldn't do for a couple of weeks, but I've still been doing plenty of boxing and just anywhere else I can get the work in. But we're back to full steam ahead now. Foot's come pretty much 100%. So we've got 4 weeks to finish off strong.
And what's your typical kind of week look like?
Well, I've just taken a new job so that I can, because I'm living in Newcastle, so I'm traveling, doing a lot of travel to get down the coast every day, plus working in the mine. So I just took a new job a bit closer to the coast. So it's I've got to do different roster, but it's every morning I'm doing either my own strength and conditioning up at Newcastle or with my strength and conditioning coach, Braden Mellon at Return to Perform. And then of an afternoon, obviously going down the coast to train with the boys at Central Coast MMA, and then a couple of mornings, because I work night shift, so a couple of mornings after work I'll dart down the coast and get the extra session in there, as well as going back in the afternoon.
And are you the type of fighter that fights at his walk around, or what are we kind of looking at when it comes to like the actual weight? Yeah,
no, so I used to try and cut a lot, which wasn't good for me. So even just my amateur ones, like my first fight I lost 19 kilos for my first fight, and then the other ones I was losing up to 14 kilos trying to cut and that, and especially being green in the sport myself, I was probably doing a lot of it wrong, and I was just more worried about trying to put that weight back on, thinking it was that advantage. But obviously these days it's sort of getting proven that it's not, and it's not healthy for the body either. So now I'm a lot leaner and walk around a lot smaller than what I used to, and I've got a pretty small cut. I'd probably cut still 7 or 8 kilos, but it's sort of varying on just on that. Obviously every time you're going into a fight you could have different injuries or different lead up to it, so how much strength training you've got in beforehand always determines how much you got to cut.
And for the 19 kilos, like how much time did you give yourself for that?
That was the very first fight I took, and I was playing footy at 94 kilos, so the only fight I could get was at 75. So I think that might have been 6 weeks I sort of had to lose all that. But so it wasn't like I got a good mate who's or 2 good mates that are their brothers, are they're professional bodybuilders, and they look after all my diets and everything for me, and they've always I've never missed weight or had massive trouble trying to cut the weight. So it was it's always been pretty good, but still there's been a couple of tough ones.
But when you say like it's not the right way to go, so you've never missed weight, you've never had trouble making weight, but in what kind of, I guess, negative way has it affected you?
Oh, you can just like, so that last one I had, it was the easiest weight cut I've had, and I come in a lot. Just I didn't lose anything out of it. My strength and everything was still the same, and you definitely feel the toll trying to make a big weight cut than what you do if you don't, and it's just drains you. And then or even during the fight or after the fight, you can feel your body, like your muscles don't have the oxygen and the blood getting back through them quick enough, and it just the whole feeling going into a weight cut. If you're pushing the limits and you're struggling, you're draining your body, and you might be 2 or 3 weeks out and you're already having to start cutting all your food down, and you're not getting the effort out in the training. as to this last one, I could train right up to the week of a couple of days before the fight, still put 100% in without lacking any energy, just because I didn't have to worry about all that weight to lose. So you're still getting the work in everywhere else, and you're still eating, and you're just healthy in general.
And have you always been in the same weight class? Like, is it a case of now that you just try to remain lower so there's a smaller weight cut? Or, because I know in Jamie's case, for instance, he used to kill himself getting down in weight, where now he's actually gone up in weight. And he was talking about, like, obviously the same thing. He was like, I just realized, one, he said he's put more muscle mass on.
Yeah.
But two, he was like, I was killing myself just getting there. So it just made more sense to go up. So with you, is it a case that you're just trying to remain lower all year round, or is it a case, have you moved up at all?
No, I think I've just restructured so I was just more typically doing your compound weights, like your bodybuilding style weights, trying to be big and strong when it doesn't really benefit you in MMA at all anyway. You get slower, your twitch reflexes are slower, and your speed and everything, it slows everything down really. So you are strong, but you don't have that explosiveness and everything. So I've just changed it all up now, so I'm doing the right things with Braid and the strength and conditioning coach. He bases everything around, tries to build it around what's going to help me in the sport, and same as what we do with Ross when we do our fight circuits and whatnot. It's all things that are going to help you. You're still doing the weights and everything, but they're in actions that's going to be in the sport you're doing, which makes a massive difference. I don't have to try and be as big and strong anymore, and I can still keep a good strength, and it's just I can be quick as well without having to carry that extra weight.
And are you the type of guy that kind of like obsesses about, and now especially being 4 weeks out, like is it one of those things that just like runs your mind 24/7, or are you the type of person that's able to like go to the gym, get the rounds in or whatever, and let it go once you step out of the gym?
Yeah, I don't switch off, so I'm shocking with that. Even if I'm not training or anything, I'm still thinking 24/7 about it. I don't sleep. My brain's always wandering on something, and it's always related to do with fighting. So switching off's a big thing. I've always probably still got to learn to balance out, so I'm not fatiguing myself inside and outside the gym with it. But it's all a part of the process to learn, I guess. But.
And what's the next 4 weeks kind of look like for you? Are you still putting in solid rounds, or when do you start to taper off?
We'll have a chat to Ross tonight, because we know it's fully set, and we'll lay a platform out for it, and we'll go from there really. But it'd be pretty much flat biggie for the next 3.5 weeks, I'd say.
And in regards to like sparring, are you the type of person that needs the rounds, or like? And I only ask because you hear people like Holloway now saying they prefer not to spar. Like obviously they're at a level and stuff, but like how important is it to you to still get those sort of rounds in?
Yeah, well, to be honest, mate, I haven't done as much sparring in my life as to what I have done now I'm at Central Coast, because obviously floating around the different gyms and never really having the foundation I've got now. I didn't have sparring partners, or I might have had someone to box with or to kickbox with, but not to do actual MMA sparring or anything like that. So I've never, and then back in Lithgow, there was still a few boys there, but sizes and weights and there wasn't many other fighters or anything. So I never had that sort of setup until now being at Central Coast MMA. So getting that sparring in makes me feel a lot more comfortable going into the fight. It takes a lot of the nerves out, because you sort of got an idea of where your head's at and whether you're ready and that. Whereas before I used to go into my fights with just a lot more nervous, because I didn't have everything I'd been doing was enough or was right, or if you actually even fit enough, because you hadn't been getting those sparring rounds in. But if you're in the gym getting those rounds, I still believe you can't have too hard a sparring. Obviously, you don't want to be bashing yourself around for no reason, but still get that hard, solid work in. I think you definitely need it to a certain extent.
Which is crazy, because like I always say, MMA, you spar at like 80%, sometimes even a little lower.
Yeah.
Where you see the boxing guys, man, when they spar, they're like hell-bent. Like they just go out there and flog each other. I mean, granted, they obviously have the headgear on and stuff like that, but like it's just a totally different mentality when you see the two sports. It's kind of crazy. Is Jamie out of quarantine yet? Like, is he back in your camp?
Nah, I think I was talking to Drew yesterday. I think Jamie gets Thursday. He might be out, but it's this week. This week's his last week. I think it's definitely he was within I think it's Thursday or Friday he finishes up. So he should hopefully be back in the gym the following week.
And he could be a heavyweight by the time he gets out, man. I've seen some of his posts with all the candy and lollies and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, this is trouble. But like, I also saw like literally, I don't know who brought it to him, but did you see that like he's now got weights. He's got like a cycle machine in there. Like literally, they brought basically a whole gym to his hotel room.
Yeah, I did say he's got a heap of stuff there now, which is good. It'd be very hard sitting in there all day for 14 days, so it'd be good. You need to get some sort of release out, I guess. So yeah, he said I seen a little thing he had with another bloke doing a interview the other day, and he said he's getting plenty of training in now, and he's finding it easy to do the training just because he's got nothing else to do all day. So that's good, because it would be very, very tough if you had nothing in there for 14 days.
And I have to ask, I mean, you've just said you don't switch off, but like in your downtime, do you do anything outside of fighting to try to switch off? Like what does Blake do to relax? Like, are you, like, do you go to the beach? Do you go to the movies? Like, what is it that you do?
No, nothing really. I'm pretty busy all the time, mate. If I'm not working, I'm training. If I'm not training, I'm travelling somewhere. I can still go back to Lithgow a lot and try to get my dogs out for a hunt every now and then when I can. But yeah, there's always something to do or something going on. I don't really, I'm sitting around doing nothing. I've got to find something to do straight away.
So you go hunting?
Yeah, it used to Lithgow sort of out the bush sort of thing. But yeah, take the dogs out pig hunting and in the mountains. So it's a not everyone's cup of tea, but it's good adrenaline rush. It's good for the dogs and it's a bit of excitement.
And how tough is that? I just have to say now, because I didn't even know that. But obviously, because it's a lot harder here to get licensed, right, for a firearm. How tough was that? Yeah,
well, we don't use firearms, so we just take the dogs and we use knives. So it's but you still got to have your R license to.
What, you hunt with knives? What, you're running after these pigs or what?
Yeah, so you'd be driving around and the dogs will sniff the pigs out and they'll jump off and run in there and catch the pigs, and then you got to run in there once they've got them and you go in there and stick the pig and kill it as humanely as possible, obviously. But yeah, it's that they're a pest to a lot of farms. They obviously do a lot of damage on the properties and kill a lot of livestock and that. So, and that it's legal to hunt in the state forests and whatnot as well if you've got your R license. But yeah, it's definitely a hobby, but it's a sport, but it's something that needs to be done as well. But obviously the knives make it a bit more of an adrenaline rush.
So you seriously go out there with knives? Like not even like a bow and arrow?
No bow and arrow. The dogs are the ones that do all the hard work. They're the ones that cop the floggings. We just got to try to get there as quick as we can, really.
I've never even heard of that. Like, well, honestly, yeah, like, take a boomerang next time.
A boomerang? I'm just saying, like,
a pig. I'm just saying, like a spear or something. Like, I can't believe like you're running after him with a knife. I mean, I assume it's a Crocodile Dundee big knife, I guess. Yeah, like this is a knife kind of.
Yes, yeah, it's a good sized knife.
So listen, are you still a fan, I guess, of the MMA? Like, and I say like now as well, like, are you still keeping up to date with all the fights that are going on? Like, because I know the same thing, like some people, like they fight and you know, they just want to tune out when they can. But I also know others, they're the same as, I guess, all of us watching the fights every single weekend.
Yeah, no, I try to watch as much as I can, obviously depending on what's going on, as long as especially the big cards, the main cards I'll try to watch, and then any on the local scene, if I'm at home and I've got nothing on, I'll definitely tune in and try to watch them to keep up to date, or even if it's just someone I support or think's a good fighter or whatever, I'll try watch it. But mainly, yeah, if it's someone I know is fighting or it's a big card, I'll definitely try to tune in and see it. But just, yeah, the more I've doing of it, the probably the less I've watched of it. Whereas when I was younger and wasn't doing it, I'd obsess over it to watch it all the time. But yeah, these days, if I can get to it, I'll watch it, and I'll still, if it's a big card or someone I'm really intrigued or a fan of, I'll watch the replay as well. But yeah, it just depends what's going on, really.
So let me guess, you didn't wake up at 1 a.m. this weekend?
Nah, negative.
Did you see any of the fights?
On the Holland and Vittori. Yeah, so I watched Perry and Rodriguez. I just watched a replay, some of the replays yesterday, but Perry and Rodriguez, was it? And then Vittori and Holland, I watched it as well.
And what do you think of the Vittori Holland? Yeah,
it was obviously Holland holes got found out the other week against Brunson, and he looked good in the first round, but it deteriorated very quick for him there. Vittori obviously fought the fight he needed to fight, and Holland's going to have to go back to the drawing board and work on his holes, definitely.
Crazy. So the big thing at the moment as well, I guess if you are watching a lot of these fights, is now the calf kicks. How, like, is that something that you guys are now training? Like, is it something that once those sort of things come, like that every gym is now training in that, or like how do you feel about the calf kicks? And as I say, is it something that Ross is now trying to implement into your arsenal?
Yeah, no, well, it's definitely something that's grown the last couple of years. I first started doing it with Rich Fogarty, who I was with at Newcastle. There, he's very smart with the fight, like obviously just the whole stand up side of the game, and he's been around a lot of people to learn a lot and to see a lot. And I started doing a lot of it with him, and I used it a fair bit against Dave before he finished me. But Ross is definitely implementing it as well. And if it suits your game style and the way you fight, it's definitely something that people should be doing, I think. And it's showing how effective it can be. But yeah, it's definitely something I enjoy doing, and you see a lot of the gyms bring it in for sure.
Anyone ever get you with one?
Nah, not as of yet. I haven't touched wood, but I know I've seen a little bit of this other dude on fight, and I dare say he's pretty good with his kicks, so I'll probably cop a few off him.
I just wanted to know if you could like describe the sensation, the sensation of being kicked by one, because people always talk about, like, I mean, most people now know what it feels like to be kicked in the liver, but like with the calf kicks, you've got a few different stories left, right, and center, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, give it a month, I might be able to give you some feedback, but not for now. It definitely does. You see it slow people up a lot quicker than the thigh kicks and everything, so it's obviously a lot more effective.
And so, knowing that your opponent is heavy on the kicks, is it something that you are definitely working on in regards to being able to check these kicks? Like, is it like a serious concern to you?
No, you're in a fight, so you got to be prepared for everything. If you can train yourself to be ready for everything, then that's all you can do, really. I'm not going to overthink about it or put all my thought process onto that, because then you'll probably get caught with something else. Yeah,
right. No, I was just thinking, like, in case you got his name wrong, he knows, and now he knows your game plan.
He might not have even ever thrown a calf kick. I've just given him a compliment for nothing, possibly, but we'll see.
He's trying to butter him up. But yeah, so like, I guess I guess it is what it is. Like, I mean, I hope that Ross has studied some tape, which I'm sure he has, but I always think at this time you kind of camp, you should be well aware of.
And we are. So Ross watched some stuff last week, but we obviously knew that was the possibility of the fight. So that was like 4.5, 5 weeks out, and we knew Ross. We already worked on stuff last week, and then we obviously, now that we know it's full blown set, we go to work real hard on it now. But he'd already had some ideas and sussed it all out. But we only got the name last week, and then obviously got confirmed Saturday night. So
now with Eternal, you say it was a 5-fight contract. Is that an exclusive contract?
Yeah, exclusive 5-fight contract. It's over 19 months from my first fight. It'll be so, which is good because they've been good to me, Eternal. 6 of those fights, or maybe 6 of those 7 or 5 of those 7 fights got canned pre-COVID on me. We're all meant to be on their card, so they've been good to me because I understood that I stayed loyal to them that whole time and tried to stay on their show just because they're the best in Australia and New Zealand by far. So they looked after me well with it, which was good. So.
And is there any discussion of you potentially in those 5 fights? I mean, granted, you got to win them. But like, have they spoken that there's like a direct path to say the title?
Nah, I'm not too sure on the fine print. I already asked for the title fight with them, but they said you got to get a cut. Oh, that was before I even had the one with Dave. But yeah, they just want me to get active and get a few fights first, and then. But yeah, obviously with a little bit of luck, we can string 1 or 2 wins back together again. We can try to get there to a title. But I'm not really focusing on titles. I just want to have hard fights and get back in the routine and be active for a little while, and yeah, hopefully just as long as they're hard fights, I'm happy.
Nice. Well, we always do this little bit of an experiment, which is new to this season, right? Which is, I don't know if you're on the app, it's called Clubhouse. It's an app where like-minded people can chill. They talk a little bit of shit.
Yeah.
But I like to invite them in just because as I say, we're all like-minded people, and there's a lot of things that they have like that obviously I forget to ask and stuff like that. So I want to bring them in.
Yep.
You know, they'll probably be pretty brutal to you. Only joking. Relax.
I'll cop it all.
and no, well, the thing is, like, most of them are overseas, so you know, if they talk shit, you can't even go to their door. But like, but we'll see how they go. I'll open up the line now and see if anyone's actually out there. Is there anyone there?
Dennis, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I unmuted the wrong channel because I knew it was going to be you, so I had to unmute the wrong channel. No, but yeah, we are here. We can hear you loud and clear.
Roger that. Thanks for doing this, Dennis. Let me just really quickly test the room. Who else do we have here still?
Sorry,
Vollmer. Jay, are you here? Sorry, they're flashing mics, Dennis.
I'm here. No question, though.
Okay, cool. So we've got Maria, Jay, Milana, and myself, Dennis.
All good. Come on, Joseph, give me something good.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing. I think my intrigue is mostly about this pig hunting that's going on. Do you eat these things?
What was that? Sorry, mate.
Do you eat them?
Nah, you can, but normally the more wild feral pigs, there's a lot of diseases around these days that make it a bit too dangerous, sort of worth the risk of it. But back in the day, a lot of the older blokes and that used to, but I know some people still do, but we normally just use them for dog feed. You just chop them up, cut them up and use them for dog feed.
What type of dogs do you have that are hunting these pigs with you?
You can use all kinds of dogs, mate. I personally use the bigger, like a Bull Arab cross Great Dane style of dog, so they like onto them. But people use Kelpies, Border Collies. You can use whatever you want, really. There's not many dogs I haven't seen be able to hunt if they've got the nature in them and they want to work. Every dog wants to work and strive towards something. So yeah, you can sort of just a preference on what kind of style of dog you like, really.
Do we have anything else?
Does anyone have anything? Does anyone else in the room have anything?
Yeah, I can ask. It's Milana speaking. I can ask what you don't like about fighting in MMA. How about that?
Ooh.
Don't like about fighting in MMA. That's a tough one.
Yeah, what you don't like. What can you do without? Where you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this at all. What can you do without? Because you sound very passionate about it. So let's go to the opposite question of what are the drawbacks to you?
I'll let him answer that for a second. I'll give him a quick second to think about it, but I can guarantee you that probably one thing he doesn't like about MMA is losing, because no one likes that. But
that's always a given. That's a given.
I know. But anyway, yeah, I'll throw the mic back at him.
Yeah, other than what Dennis said, there isn't anything. I guess it's the whole process, the discipline, everything about it. I love the injuries. Suck if you're getting injured, and that's a big step, like kicking the guts, really. But otherwise, the whole journey of it, I love it completely. So there's nothing other than losing and injuries. That's the only thing I could fault.
So are you telling me you actually? Sorry, are you telling me you actually enjoy making weight?
Yeah, as stupid as it sounds, it's a part of the process. You make weight and it makes the fight easy. So it's all a part of it. You dread it. You definitely dread it, and just the roll. I guess the whole roller coaster of fighting yourself. Like everyone goes through a different journey, but I guess one day you wake up and you're like, what am I doing this for? I don't want to be doing this. This is stupid. And the next day you wake up and you can't wait. You're just itching to do it. So, but that whole roller coaster is a part of the journey that you do, I guess. And it's what makes it, when you do win, more worthwhile and makes it all rewarding. With
that roller coaster, has there ever been a moment where, not that you've wanted to pull out, but had that kind of doubt? Like, has there ever been a doubtful moment in your mind?
Before my very first fight, mate, if so many people hadn't travelled up to support me and buy tickets, I think I would have pulled out for sure. I was absolutely shitting myself, but otherwise, no, never once really.
It's crazy, right? How peer pressure can really put you into those kind of situations, right?
Yeah, in deep end.
Do you remember your first fight? Like, what do you remember the feeling and everything of that fight?
Yeah. I remember it was quite a fair bit happened for me first fight. So I cut all that weight, and then I got to my weigh-in, and the fella I was meant to fight, he pulled out, but I wasn't told. He'd been in Thailand doing a training camp, and he apparently got bit by a monkey while he's in Thailand doing the training camp. So I've got to weigh in, cut that 19 kilos, and had no opponent. So, and then I was fortunate the promoter had his boy who was meant to fight the weekend after. He stepped in and took it, and that was Joel Kendrick. His name is obviously he's well known. He's been going real good on the professional scene. He and had a big background. Yeah, he stepped in on the day's notice, and that was both our MMA debuts. So, but it was definitely an interesting one for me, first one.
And speaking of which, because Joel Kendrick was actually in the room with us at Urban Fight Night, right? So did you guys have a discussion there at all? Or
I had a yarn. I'm always respectful and polite to everyone. I know he wants that fight back because obviously it was his first fight, my first fight as amateurs. I've had a few times where I've been approached by different promoters to run that one back, but I was obviously always out. I spent 4 years out with injuries, so but maybe one day down the track. I know he's got the Urban Fight Night title, and he's a very good fighter. So I definitely one day down the track it might happen again. But yeah, all respect to Joel. He's a good kid. He's only young still too. He's still got a lot of fighting left in him. So he's good.
No, I know Joel because he used to obviously be on the brace circuit as well for a while. And I'll just, before we go back to Clubhouse, I just want to ask you on the hunting now as well. Like, I know that like pit bulls over here got a really, really bad name, right?
Yep.
And obviously they've outlawed them and stuff like that. And a lot of the times I say it's because of the owners, because of what they put them through. But they always talk about, obviously, once a dog gets that thirst for blood, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Now, if they're going out and doing what you're saying they're doing, like, have you ever had any issues? Like, do you feel that the dogs, I guess, become more aggressive in general, or like, you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it all becomes, it's the same as anything. It comes down to how well you train them. Once they get that first taste of blood, that's when you really got to put the hard work into making sure that they're just disciplined onto the one animal, and they don't wander off trying to grab everything else. And it's like, I guess same as a human breed too. You're gonna have the old one that strays off and does the wrong thing. Nothing's perfect, but if you train them right and do, like I take my dogs to the beach. They go to the beach, they hang around other dogs. They love what they're placid as. They won't try to fight other dogs. But then you take them out in the bush hunting and they switch on and they know that's what they're there for. So.
But I guess, like, would you be comfortable leaving your dogs in a room with a toddler and walking out the door, or do you have to be in the room to make sure? Yeah,
no, that big dog that you're seeing that's in me box today when I turned up, I'll put him around a kid and he'll sit next to the kid and make sure the kid's safe, sort of thing. Like, he's just a big sook. Like, he's not aggressive in nature at all. He's just chilled out, and I'd trust him with a little toddler before I trust anyone else's dog. But and in saying with the pit bull too, I've got another dog that's the Arab Dane, and he's cross pit bull as well. He's got a little bit of pity in him, and you can definitely see that in their nature as a pup. They're a little bit more sort of skittish and timid than that. But if you put the work into them, they're just going to be the same as any other dog. They just need that work put into them.
That's crazy. But seriously, I've never heard of it. I've seriously never heard of it. Like, I don't even know if you can classify that as hunting. Like, seriously, like, I've never heard of someone just like go out in bush with a knife and a dog and go, all right, let's go catch some things.
I'll take you out one day.
Yeah, I'll take you up on that.
I'll
take you up on that for sure. Let's go.
We can definitely do that.
Let's go. Anyway, let's open up to Clubhouse again and see if we got any other questions.
Yeah, I had a question about the. You said you were involved in like a wrestling program there in Australia. I'm really curious about what the state of wrestling is in Australia and how folks are getting into wrestling. Obviously it's different there than it is in, say, like Russia or the United States. But I was curious about that program you're in, and then also just generally in Australia, what it's like being someone training MMA and wanting to make sure their wrestling is competitive.
Yeah, so we've got Gary for he's the Wrestling Foundation, it's called. They're based in Sydney, but he's from America. He grew up in America in the States and wrestled his whole sort of college and whatnot like he's do over there, I guess. And the program he's brought in, and he's taken it around to different gyms. He's now running coaching courses so that they can get more coaches out there to keep getting the sport out there more. But just obviously I hadn't really had any wrestling until doing what he was doing, not the structure that he's got. And I think he's obviously basing it off what's done in the States and all the comps and that over there and the way it's all ran. So I think it's definitely going to go leaps and bounds in Australia over the next, especially 5 years, I'd say, give it. And it's definitely going to start showing its mark. And you can already see different gyms that have been bringing it in and just the effect it's taken already. Like even just the boys that are at our gym, for example, that were there when I'd been there for a while doing this foundation, like this program. When I started, I'm still miles behind what they are, but you can see how much of a difference it's made in all their game all around. Because obviously you're wrestling, if you got your good wrestling, then it brings the confidence into everything else in your game. So you don't have to worry about certain things because you know you've got that wrestling. So you're not worried about getting taken down because you're comfortable there and whatnot. So what Gary's doing is great, and you can see it's already it's having its rewards already.
Let me ask you this. Is he also, because obviously it's one thing training it and you know, like here we're very big on BJJ and there's like probably a BJJ comp every second weekend really, right?
Yep.
With the Wrestling Foundation, is it a matter of him just teaching you, or are we actually having tournaments now where you're going out and competing in the wrestling?
Well, funny you ask that. They're actually doing their first gym competition thing. So there's a grading day that he's doing down at, I think it's at VT1 Martial Arts on the 31st of May. I think we're doing it, and it's so there's grading for everyone to try to get to the next level that think they're ready to go up there. And then Central Coast MMA and VT1 Martial Arts are also having a competition day at actual wrestling comp to compete against each other as well. So it's he's definitely I guess they're going to start trying to do that more often with different gyms and get everyone amongst, like, just so you're not rolling the same people every day and you can actually have a bit more of a competition and that out of it as well.
Nice. Do we have anything else?
Hi, Dennis and Blake. It's Milana again from Clubhouse. I just wanted to ask, Blake, when you were younger, did you play any other sports, or was it just MMA? Or if it was just MMA, who were your major inspirations to actually go into it?
So I've played pretty much every sport when I was younger. I've been fortunate. I was sort of naturally sort of gifted at most sports I've done. I used to play representative cricket, soccer, hockey, basketball, played first grade football, and but just none of them were sort of got that satisfaction of doing MMA or just testing myself to that level where if you had a bad day doing any of them, there was someone else there to pick up your slack for you. Whereas MMA, it's just, well, obviously you and your team in the gym, but once you get in there, it's just you. So it's in inspirations. I don't know if I had any inspirations, but always you just look up to and you admire just the work rate that everyone does and what they put in, and just the whole discipline of the sport itself is really what drew me into it, because you can't slack, and whatever you put in, you get out of it. So you can't take shortcuts and you can't cheat, or you get found out pretty quick.
See, I can see you playing rugby. Cricket, on the other hand? Cricket, really?
Yeah, cricket, basketball, soccer, hockey. I just had to be doing whatever. When I was a kid, I had to be doing everything. If I wasn't doing it, I felt like I was missing out. So
that's crazy. Do we have anything else?
Yeah, I got a question, Dennis. So I heard a lot about your training. With that said, there's been a lot of topics in MMA about sparring. Can you speak about a little bit about how much you spar, and if you do spar often, how much you spar hard, so to speak? Right. I know there's lots of different ways of looking at these things. So I'd love to hear sort of how you arrange your training and how you approach sparring at this point in your career.
Yeah, mate. I'm all for it to a certain extent. Obviously, like it's not a fight. You shouldn't be going in the gym trying to fight each other. And we'll do every one day a week where we got proper sparring and you're getting those good hard rounds in, but you're obviously not there trying to hurt each other. It's work sparring. I believe, my personal opinion, that it's your opportunity to work on everything and try to put everything together, and just don't go in there and work on what you know you're good at, because you're not going to get anything out of it. You need to go in there and work on the things that are a weakness for you, so that when it comes to time to fight and put it all together, that you've worked on all them sort of areas. But there's I know other people go in there know every time they spar it's a fight, and that's their personal preference. But I think just with all the studies they're doing these days with your head knocks, CTE and all that, I don't think it's beneficial at all. And as you see, a lot of fighters they're getting into a fight and they're getting knocked out quick, and then it comes out that they got knocked out 2 weeks prior in training, and that's obviously their brains aren't recovering, and just the long-term effects that they're starting to prove a fair few things of, especially even just with footballers and stuff as well. It's there's definitely, I think sparring, whilst you're still learning and growing as a fighter, it's essential. You need to do it just to get everything together. But I guess, like as Holloway's just come out and said that he's done everything now, he just needs whatever he's working on, he can just do it himself. He already knows how to fight. So I think it just depends on where you're at in your career. But there's definitely there's a boundary for how much you should do. But I think it's definitely a good thing to do as long as you're doing it right.
Is it hard to find sparring partners, I guess, your size, your skill level, things like that? I mean, when you talk about like Jamie going down to like freestyle MMA and stuff like that, do you find, just obviously because over here it's not so much that we're still a growing sport, but like, you know, when you look at our population size and everything like that, we are a lot smaller than say some of these bigger countries, right? Do you find it hard to find legitimate sparring partners?
Not so much now. I have in the past, definitely. Always had a lot of, very struggled to get in sparring partners at all in the past, but now I'm down there with Ross and the boys at Central Coast. Like there's Jamie, obviously, there's Drew, there's Big Tavita, they got some good boys in that gym, and then we've been getting so the boys from Kariote at Alex's gym down there. That a few of them come up every now and then. Cut Lover gyms come up on Saturdays and do work with us too, and so the gym, Ross has got a lot of good connections. So we if there's a fight happening for anyone, then he brings people in. Same as other people have got a fight, we'll go help them out as well. So I think as long as, like Ross has got that many connections that we get whatever we need. If we need something, like, and we still, like obviously Ross as well, getting the work in with Ross is on another level too. So I definitely don't feel, I'm not lacking of that at all at the moment, but I've also never had it before too. So.
Perfect. Any more questions from Clubhouse?
Yes, one more. Sorry, guys, it's Moana.
You're all good. That's what this is all about. So shoot away.
I'm really into this, and I'm really inspired. And I mean, I'm just getting back into everything to do with UFC after I've been away from it for a while. So I just joined the club, and I wanted to ask you. A lot of these questions have been physical, and communication has been physical. Now, when it comes to coaching and having your coach and everything that you're preparing for and all the work you've done physically, I think a very important topic to talk about globally is mental health. So I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the coaches you work with and anyone you're sparring against and you're going to be preparing against for fights, do they prepare you mentally in terms of mental health to deal with these people and to also deal with preparation when you do lose, for example? Can you please just elaborate on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if you actually, no, I guess there's probably no approach to the actual mental health side, but your people, your coach and your teammates in the gym, you become like family anyway. So you can feel if someone's not right or something's going on, you know, everyone knows that they're there for each other to reach out to if you need something. And then obviously, even if you have a bad day in the gym, someone will come up after and say, "Oh, is everything okay? You're doing all right?" sort of thing. Like every gym could be different, but I know the little family they got there at Central Coast MMA, everyone's there for each other, and it's not like you lose a fight and then you just go back home and no one reaches out to talk to you, or you feel like you're alone at any time or anything like that. So I think that, you know, there's people there if you need them, and they know if something's up with you that they're going to come and help you out too. That's the gym that we've got, and just sort of the situation that we're in. I'm not sure. I'd imagine every other gym's the same. You see them all talk about being families, brotherhoods and whatnot. So, but as in terms of actual approaching mental health, I don't know if they attack it that way, but you feel like, you know, if there's something's up with someone, you're going to be there for them and vice versa.
Does it ever get brought up though? Like, does it? I mean, I guess and I don't want to put Ross on the spot, but has there ever been a conversation where, I guess, and I only say Ross because that's the only coach I know right now coming out of your gym. I'm sure that there's a few other, but has there ever been a moment where one of them has sat you down and said, "Listen, like, if things get tough, like, you know, reach out"?
Yeah. Well, like just for like an example. One of my mates that I started training with in so this topic sort of close at the moment because he was training with us at Thrive MMA and he was a fighter when he was younger and he took his life 2 weeks ago. So I went back for his funeral Friday. So obviously I had to have a day off training and told the boys and whatnot. And that was the first thing I said. I said, if you need anything, come talk to us. Like, we're here to have a yarn too if you need anything at all. Like, so yeah, it is there. Like, the support's there if you need it. And it's, there's definitely not like you're in a spot where you're going to, anyway, if you were to speak up or say something, they're not going to look at you any different for it. Like, they're there to support you and help you.
Crazy. And I'm sorry about that. Well, on that, I'm just going to say we'll see if there's one more question. We'll take one more question, and then I'm going to get some fight picks from you, and we'll call it a day. I just feel like the mood just went heavy for a second.
Mate, that's part of the world, unfortunately. Yeah, it's sad, obviously, but it's it's way part of life, unfortunately.
Yeah, crazy. Do we have one more question?
Yeah, I got one. It's about jiu-jitsu. Before someone gets a black belt and they're training MMA, it's common for coaches to teach their fighters what I've heard described as anti-jiu-jitsu, which is like you learn the defenses against common jiu-jitsu positions, but you don't necessarily, you're not expected to like perform well against, a brown belt or something like that. So is that something that your coaches got you into like early, like specifically anti-jiu-jitsu, where you're basically training how to defend against certain jiu-jitsu positions and how to get out of, like a guillotine or, like those types of common escapes? Or is that all just part of your general jiu-jitsu program?
Yeah, no, I think it's all part of, just from my experience, I'd say it's just all a part. Every coach I've ever been with, it's just a part of your training in general. Like you'll go through your class, you'll learn a few moves, but then you learn the counter move or the defense to it as well, and then you go through and roll it and practice it. So I think it all just comes part with itself, I think, to be honest.
I guess where Jay's coming from there, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but like I've heard something like that before as well, where they say like a white belt will most likely never submit a black belt, but a white belt will be able to defend themselves against a black belt, if that makes sense.
Is that for Jay? Or
yeah, they could.
No, I think that's what he was kind of saying is like that, you learn the defenses first. So like if you're rolling against a higher belt, the chances are you are going to have those defenses kind of ingrained into you. The problem is you'll probably never submit someone that's of a higher belt in a sense. Do you feel that like when you're rolling around, I guess that, rolling, as I say, especially with people that are above you, that you're still feeling comfortable that you can kind of hold your own, like
you survive and you can defend and you can survive, but you don't offer anything to like in offense wise. I guess that's probably true. You might be comfortable, but that's all a part of putting you also see a lot of people are all about attacking and not defending too, because they want to just be the attacker and the one finishing all the time. And as soon as they get put in an uncomfortable position, they struggle. So I guess that's all an individual thing too. If you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, then you're gonna get through a lot more hard situations.
All good, we can swear.
It's all trying to be on my best behaviour.
But look, on that, I am gonna just get a couple of fight picks from you. Or actually, I got a few only because last week's guest was a judge, and I thought it'd be in bad form to ask him for some fight picks because it might have stirred up the pot a little bit. But we got a few fights coming up. A few interesting ones, a few weird ones, but I'll start with Diaz's return first. So we got Diaz fighting against Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is in the same boat as you, where he's had a bit of a layoff. He came back. He was looking good before the eye poke. But do you like that fight, and how do you see that one play out? Yeah,
well, it surprised me actually them announcing that one, especially for Diaz too. It's not probably the big money fight that he could have been taking, but you can never count Diaz out, mate. It just depends on whether he's preparing or not, I guess. But Edwards, it's hard to say when you haven't seen too much of him in the last few years. But you always know what you're going to get with Diaz, and I'm a big Diaz. I love the Diaz boys. They're just street rats. I love it. So I'll go for Diaz for an upset.
There we go. Our boy Tai Tuivasa has been announced to fight Greg Hardy. So big hitters. How do you see that one?
I'll go Bam Bam for sure on that. I think Hardy's. I think too much of a hype train behind Hardy, and Bam Bam's obviously he's been over in the States working on the different areas of his game, got himself a little bit more well rounded. I'll go Bam Bam for finish.
Yeah, what's the deal, right? Like he's like, I don't know, is he in the States or is he in Abu Dhabi? I don't even know where he's at, but it just seems like he hasn't come back in months.
Probably the best thing for him if he's going to be partying, but he's I'm not too sure where he's at the moment. I think he done his last camp in Abu Dhabi because he was planning on fighting in Fight Island for a while, but so it all got shaken up. Couldn't tell you where he's at the moment.
Then we got the Korean Zombies is coming back after obviously dropping one to Ortega, and he's now fighting Dan Ige. How do you like that one?
Yeah, that who asked for that? Dan asked for it, didn't he?
I have no idea.
One of them just fought recently, and they asked for it and said that the other one didn't know, reckon they didn't know who they were. But I think the Korean Zombie would probably bounce back. I think with that one.
See, that one's a tough. That one's probably the 50-50 for me. Like I'm big on both of those guys.
They're both real good.
And you know, everyone obviously talks about how the Zombie got owned by Ortega, but I really do put it down. And I'm not saying that the one shot won Ortega the fight, but I think it changed the landscape of that fight. It really did. So yeah, that one's an interesting. Like that's the one that I don't want to make a pick on because I like both guys. I think Ige's got a real bright future ahead of him.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if the Zombie's seen his best days, but I also know he's got a good team behind him, and so that one's a real tough one for me.
Definitely.
But on that, we also now got Usman versus Masvidal too. How do you see that?
Mate, Usman looked. I've always never been a critic of Usman, but I've never been a big fan of him to be honest. But just the way he sort of goes about everything. But I think he wins again. Definitely, he looked very good in his last fight. His stand up had come a long way compared to his last few fights, and to be dropping him with the jab as he was, and just pretty much picking him apart with the jab. I think he's going to definitely beat Masvidal again. And
I know you just said you didn't like him, but do you feel he's underrated? Because,
I feel he was probably he was, I wouldn't say underrated. He just maybe he's underrated or just didn't get the publicity or the talk about, but that's probably because he's not the star or the character that a lot of other fighters are either. So I don't know what you would say. I don't think he's underrated, but he's obviously been doing a lot of good things for a long time now, but I just don't know if he was getting the attention because he's not the sort of the star they can market off like a lot of the other boys like Conor McGregor and sort of fighters like that.
Is there someone on the roster though that you think has the tools to beat him?
I think him and Colby for sure. I had Colby going winning that fight too, so I'd love to see them two go again.
Yeah, that's the rematch I would like to see.
Definitely.
And I've always said, to be honest with you, because this card's got the 3 title fights, I actually said they should have scrapped that title fight, did the number 1 contender one, and have Masvidal versus Colby.
Yeah.
Right?
That would have been a cracker.
Call it King of South Beach and really market that. But obviously they missed out on that one. And as I say, there's 3 title fights on that one. So Valentina versus Andrade.
Yeah, I think Valentina. I think Andrade is tough. She's good. She's tough. You know what you're going to get with her, but I think Valentina's got it.
Okay, and then the last one on that one is the Whaley versus Rose. Thug Rose.
I love Thug Rose. She's just a little sweetheart, isn't she? Really. So the way she goes about her business, and that's all. I'll go with Thug Rose. I don't know if I'd imagine she'd be the underdog, but hopefully she can upset her. But Zaylee's she's another beast.
She is the underdog. And then this weekend, we got our boy Robert Whittaker versus Calvin.
Yeah,
it's 2 years in the making. We're finally there. How do you see that one going? And do you feel like that one is the number 1 contender fight? Or do you think that Marvin's put enough of a case on last week to try to get that rematch with Izzy?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think Marvin showed enough. It was good, obviously, but Whittaker deserves it. Obviously, if he wins, I think he wins. Whittaker wins all day, but yeah, I think that's got to be whoever wins. That's got to be the title.
And how do you see the path to victory there? Do you see it as a finish? Do you see it a decision? Like, how do you see that fight?
That's tough, eh? Gaslam's tough, man. He's real tough. It's not going to be no easy fight, but Whittaker's definitely got the tools to finish him, and like he doesn't. Whittaker never even shows his wrestling really. Like he could go out and out wrestle him too if he wanted, but I think it'd probably be a decision victory for Whittaker.
And let's switch codes for a second, and that's only because we've had a lot of talk. I've got two more for you. The first one is, without a question, Jake Paul versus Ben. Do you like that fight? Do you like the kind of attention that fight's getting, or how do you feel about that fight? And yeah, who do you see taking that one?
Yeah, mate, I probably haven't looked too much into it. I just off little podcasts I've heard or interviews and that. And they do talk. They say Jake Paul's looking like he's looking good and doing everything right in the gym. And I know was listening to one of the Joe Rogan ones the other day with talking about Askren. He was meant to do a couple of weeks with Freddie Roach, I think it was, and he only went for the 1 week. So, and apparently he was disappointed that he only went for the 1 week there. So whether he's still putting the work in otherwise or not, I'm not too sure. But I'd love to see Askren win just because the YouTubers are sort of carrying on and sort of. Yeah, just the way they go about things. But yeah, from what I've heard, Jake Paul he might actually be half decent. So we'll wait and see, I guess. But I'll go with Askren just because he's an MMA boy.
And do you think like having these YouTubers come in, and obviously, I mean, the big debate is, he hasn't fought a real boxer, right? And now, obviously, now he's taken the claim that he's fighting a fighter at least, not like an NBA player.
Yeah.
But do you think it's bad for the sport to kind of have these, I guess, celebrity matchups?
No. I think any publicity is good publicity at the end of the day. It's same as a boxing in Australia, mate. It's taken over by NRL players, really. But they're bringing more spotlight to the sport, and then that's so like Zoo, for example, he was undercard in the boxers, the NRL players to start off with, and now he's jumping in and he's taking the main event. So anything gets Brennan is still good. I definitely think it's unfair that the real fighters aren't getting the paydays and the boys coming in that aren't even fighters are getting the paydays. But it's still bringing publicity to the sport and getting everyone's names out there, then it's still a good thing.
And it's crazy with Tim Tszyu as well, right? Like that not the last fight he had because he only fought a week back or whatever, but the one before that,
Morgan.
They were saying that Paul Gallen versus Mark Hunt was generating 80% of the traffic. Yeah, which is just crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But speaking of that, Paul Gallen's got another fight coming up.
Yeah, Big Daddy
Brown. And I wasn't actually going to ask you on an opinion. Do you think that Paul Gallen will remain undefeated, or do you think Big Daddy's got his ticket?
It depends. Lucas has been around a long time now. It depends how his training camps go. I think Gallen's going to come forward and if Gallen comes forward and keeps too close to him and just puts the dirty work in on him, I think Gallen will probably beat him. But you can never count Big Daddy out. Like, he won that world title. He's got that one punch knockout. So, but Gallen also proved that he can take the punches when he did that against Hunt. So yeah, I'm sitting on the fence on that one.
See, I feel with that Hunt fight, like Hunt literally, I think it was like in the second round, had him hurt.
He had him done there.
And I was like, why not march him down there? Yeah. Like, I thought that one there was for the taking. I couldn't believe that he didn't take that window. I was like, dude, now's your moment, right?
Exactly, yeah. He had it there. Yeah.
Kind of disappointing. But like the last one that I was going to get from you is, I didn't see with the name Chavez Jr. versus Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
How do you like the Spider coming across to boxing now?
Yeah, well, it depends. I think he's been too much. He's done too much. I think you can never count Silver out. He's still a freak of nature, but to how he'll go, I don't. It's too hard to say, to be honest. I think he'll probably lose, but.
Well, there you have it. Well, man, like, I appreciate you making the trip, and especially, I mean, for you, it is a bit of a trip. I mean, Central Coast is or Newcastle even. I mean, that's nearly close to 2 hours drive. Yeah. That's a nice little freeway trip. So I do appreciate you really coming down. For those people that obviously want to reach out to you, or they want to follow your journey, or even support you on not just the next fight, but on your fights in general, what's the best kind of way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm not on Twitter or anything like that. Just Instagram, Sheppo __ on my Instagram. That's the easiest way. And I appreciate you having me on, Dennis. It's been good. So thank you very much.
Well, I feel like I should be the one thanking you. As I said, like it was a bit of a journey, and you know, I really appreciate the time. And I know you know you've been busy, and as I said, until this weekend, I just thought we were going to catch up. I didn't realize you were actually in fight camp, so I appreciate it even more. And I know obviously now you've got to get up to the Central Coast to get training again. But no, look, really appreciate the time. I'm looking forward to seeing this next fight on Eternal 59. And yeah, I hope we can catch up at some later stage, but no, I really do appreciate that. And yeah, until next time, stay blessed.
I'm a one.